Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I'm really excited to have joining me Jeff Scott Soto, and we're going to talk all about his newest solo album coming out, Complicated. We'll also talk a little bit about Jeff's work with Vinnie Vincent in the past, as well as if he's heard from Vinnie recently, and if he'd be open to working with Vinnie again in the future. We'll also touch a little bit on some of the comments and some of the news recently between Jeff and Journey. Lots to cover in this episode. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this. So let's jump in and let's get started. Well, Jeff, first I want to just congratulate you on your forthcoming release, Complicated. I speak with lots of artists all the time, a lot of veteran artists, and they tell me they still get nervous as a new album's coming out. What do you feel like? Are you nervous, excited, anxious? How do you feel with a new album coming out?
For many years, my excitement has always been more. It's more stifled by the idea that because the music and the releases have changed so much in the past years. I used to be so excited because you want to see and hear the reviews, you want to see the sales, you want to see the interest. I know when an album comes out, the hype and pretty much everything behind new releases is over within the first week. So it's a crazy roller coaster of emotions that you get recording and creating the album. It takes months and months. The planning, the final stages with the artwork, all of that stuff, the amount of time that it takes. That to me is the most exciting part because I know that excitement is going to pretty much come to a screeching halt as soon as it's it's out the first week. I'm excited up to that point, and then I start getting depressed because I'm like,
No.
all the months of work and effort, and now everybody's going to be, yay, the new album's out. Okay, now we're on to the next.
Oh man, and you're right. You're 100% right. I mean, the music industry has changed so much since I'll say the beginning days for you putting out albums and all of that. Nowadays, there's lots of singles get released before the album even comes out. And I know you've had your first two singles, Love is the Revolution and Last to Know, that's come out already. So just talk about those songs a little bit.
Absolutely. In general, the writing process is the same and has been the same for many, many years, decades, actually. A lot of people assuming that I'm doing it this way in terms of the home studio and not being able to be together to record because pandemic or whatever, or even financial reasons. But to be honest with you, I work best when I'm in my studio, when I can hone in onto the material with, I don't have anybody breathing down my shoulder. I'm not in another room singing while somebody's pressing play and record. I find the level of my creativity is at its greatest when I'm alone in a room. I get to just hone in. It's just me and the song and finding that just finding that connection with each song. I lose that connection when I have others, when I'm talking or distracted or being around others. And this has been my process for decades now. So it's no different now, especially again, throwing in the pandemic that kind of kept us from being able to do these things. And then you add things like the budgets, as we're talking about music, and the whole ideal has changed from when we used to have $350,000 budgets to now a fraction of that. You have to find ways to make it all work and to make it to still be able to deliver quality within the levels and the confines of what we're subject to. So in general, I wanted to do it this way, and I prefer to do it this way because my results are always the best when I do it this way.
Very interesting. That makes a lot of sense to me. So, you mentioned in the pandemic.
Let me cut you off there for a second.
Sure.
As far as the process of the writing,
yes,
I prefer working with artists or musicians and collaborators who are masters of their craft. If I'm working with somebody like Alessandro, he's an amazing guitar player and keyboard player. So he will write riffs and he will play and record riffs for me in songs that I could never dream of doing. So therefore, if I pick up a guitar or piano, my limited skills are going to give you kind of an elementary version of a song compared to working with somebody who's going to do a more exciting, I guess, a more Prism-esque version of a song, more so than I'd be able to do myself. And that's why I prefer when music is sent to me kind of like the foundation of a song on a canvas, and then I'm there to just kind of fill in the colors.
Yeah, no, and Alessandro's with you on this album. I think it's the second album in a row you've worked with him. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So, one of the things, and you touched on it before with the pandemic, and a lot of people being home, do you find as a songwriter, as somebody who's writing lyrics, was it easier for you the last couple of years to pull things off of because of what's going on in the world, or was it actually harder for you?
No, it's absolutely easier because another question I got recently, you've done so many albums, you've done so many songs. How is there anything left to write about?
Sure.
All you have to do is turn on the news or open your computer or read your emails or just talking to friends and family, and there's things to write about. There's always topics and new suggestions and themes to add to your arsenal. But for the most part, I do enjoy, and I still do write 90% of my lyrics are in double entendre. I write lyrics based on whoever's listening to or reading the actual lyrics. They can have their own interpretation, what they think the song's about. For instance, like many, many years ago, I wrote a song with Talisman called Madison. And when people were analyzing it, they thought, wow, what a crazy relationship you had. This person must have driven you crazy. And then I responded, it's like, that song was about my dog. Crazy and wild. It drove me crazy. I felt like I want to kill her at times and love her at other times. And people equate it as a relationship. And I love, it's not necessarily confusion, but I love that people have their own adaptation, what they think my lyrics are about, because it adds another element, another layer, another color to those lyrics.
Yep, I totally agree with you. So, and I know you have a song on the album called Complicated, and you obviously decided to name the album that as well. So why did you decide to name the album Complicated?
The title came from an interview at the end of an interview I was doing on the last album, the Duets album. At the end of the interview, the journalist said, Jeff, if I had to describe you to somebody who's never heard of Jeff Scott Soto, never heard your music, your voice, what would be the best way to describe you? So I could basically tell them to go check you out. What's the best way to say Jeff Scott Soto is? And I basically blurted out complicated.
Interesting.
I'm a student of Queen. I'm a student of Freddie Mercury. I'm a student of Prince, and all these artists who broke down walls and barriers musically. To me, that was more important than just being a metal singer or a rock singer or a pop singer or a jazz singer. I wanted to be one of those all of the above. And when you want to be one of those all of the above kind of artists, it can get complicated in terms of how to market and how to sell or even describe that artist. I'm sure even in the early days, a band like Queen was almost impossible to say, what genre are you? Where do we categorize you? And I'm sure they love that, because who wants to be just, an artist with the blinders on? I love the idea that I can add so many different layers to who I am and what influenced me through all those years.
I love that answer. Absolutely love that answer. So listening to the new album, to me, there's a few different things on there and a few standout tracks to me. The ones that stood out to me were Thank You and Home Again. I thought were just some great songs. What songs, while you were recording it, were there any songs you were like, hey, I can't wait for the fans to hear this particular song? Were there any standouts for you?
All I can say to that is yes. I can't give you an answer. If I say yes, that pretty much means all of them. Okay. But to be honest with you, yeah, Love is the Revolution was definitely one when I first heard the demo, because I'd say 98% of the song as you hear it now was exactly how it was on the demo, which included that sitar intro. And the sitar intro I've never done anything with a sitar like that, especially to start off a song. And it really gave me that peace, love, and harmony vibe to it. And it's kind of why I stuck to that theme lyrically as well. The Beatles utilized the sitar in a lot of their latter music when they were doing songs about the revolution of love and peace, love, and harmony as well. So that's lyrically, that was my extension to the Beatles. All you need is love. I wanted Love is the Revolution to be the message that's going to get us through everything negative in our lives. The pandemic, the divisions, the religious divisions, the social injustices, the war in Ukraine. political, all these divides and all these bad things and negative things happening currently in our lives, love is the revolution that will help us get through it.
That's awesome. And certainly the world needs a lot more positivities these days. So that's without a doubt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hence all you need is love.
That's right. Very well said. One of the things, and there's been a lot of media about some singers recently losing their voice and not singing as well as they did in the past. You listen to this album, your voice is still strong as ever. Do you ever worry that, hey, one day your voice just might not be what it is currently? And what do you do to maintain your voice?
There's no do I worry about it. I have worried about it, and it has happened to me. I'm able to give the illusion that I haven't lost the beat, haven't lost the step. But to be honest with you, it's absolutely more challenging to do the things that I was able to do in my 20s, 30s, and even 40s. The struggle is real. The voice changes, the voice drops, the voice, especially the amount of mileage that I put on my voice. I hear the differences. I know exactly where my limitations and my limits are. But in general, I'm trying to give you the best of what I do have left. I'm trying not to use any excuses or any reason why I can't do certain things. And it's unfortunate. It happens. I recently posted a portion of an interview that Steve Perry did, where he said, every singer, I don't care who you are, where you are, and what walk of life, every singer has a love-hate relationship with their voice, because the voice decides when it's going to work, how it's going to work. One night everything is coming out, everything is perfection. You're like, oh my God, I wish I could bottle this energy, and the perfection of my voice is working tonight, because the next night it can say, yeah, not so much tonight. Mm-hmm. So there's that love-hate relationship with the voice, because you want to make sure you're giving the best performance, you're giving the people what they're expecting of you. And when you don't have that, it messes with your head. It definitely brings you down, and it starts making you worry, wonder, is this the end? And all you can do is the best you can do. I do everything to keep my voice in shape. I stay away from any of the elements that would hurt me, from excessive drinking. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. You got to do the hydration, the proper sleep, all these different factors. Basically, you become a nun, or you become a priest in order to be able to continue doing what people expect you to do. And to be honest with you, I don't mind living that clean life, because it just means I'll be able to extend my life, the life that was given to me by the fans, to give them what I'm so fortunate to be able to do. And that's how I see it. I have a responsibility to you. You're working your ass off to buy my music, to go see me live. I want to make sure I deliver what's expected.
I'm smiling from ear to ear as you're giving that answer. I love it. That's a great answer. Now, for yourself, when you're recording an album, do you find it easier to sing morning, afternoon, evening? When do you like to record your vocals when you're recording an album?
The same as being on stage, the same as going on the road. I have to be, not want to be, need to be, hope to be. I have to be awake for at least 6 hours before I open my mouth. The voice, everybody's got their way of doing things. Everybody's got their warm-ups and their routines. But mine, I have to be speaking and just going about my day for at least 6 hours before I would even attempt to try and start singing, especially in the studio. But live, I have to be awake and kind of moving about. Kind of the voice is a muscle, the same way as the rest of the muscles in your body. And if you're just waking up, you're not going to spring out of bed and start, doing a 5-mile run. You need to wake up and warm up and stretch the same way. And for me, my stretch happens within the course of the first 6 hours I'm awake.
All right. Awesome. Now, I know you've mentioned a few times now playing live, and I think you're out playing some shows right now, but what are your touring plans for this year and in support of the album?
For the album itself, I'm not doing any tours. For the most part, I'm just spreading the good word with everything I already do have going for me. And a lot of what I'm doing this year is make updates from 2020, things that were postponed, pushed, canceled, etc. And I'm trying to mix them in with other new things that they're just naturally part of the pipeline. I'm not necessarily touring anymore for my solo albums. I've done so many years of that whole cycle of album tour.
Yep.
And I'm not interested anymore in going out there and spending 6 weeks on the road to come home with beer money, because there's only a certain level of a size of interest for my solo material. I don't believe in the ideal of going out there and promoting and basically sleeping in a sleeping bag or on a couch to make my albums happen anymore. I mean, that demographic, those days are over. for me anyways.
Yep.
When you had proper radio promotion, when you had MTV, when you had tour support, all those things were important factors in being able to do that cycle of album tour. But since I started touring, especially my solo stuff, all of that's been on me. It's about me trying to find interest. It's trying to find venues, trying to find the band, make sure all those parameters are all in line. And then in the end, you try to make it profitable. And sometimes it's not profitable. At this point in my life, I'll be 57 in November. I only want to pick and choose things where there's a demand for them, as opposed to me trying to force a demand.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And, you mentioned, all of this falls on your shoulders as a solo artist. For yourself, is it easier when you record albums, when you're thinking of playing, to be as a solo artist, or like, for example, when you do like Sons of Apollo, when you're in a band situation, which do you find easier, band or solo?
Even as a solo artist, or when I do solo albums, or the band Soto, which I'm the final overseer of that, but Soto is a band. I always work as a team anyways. I never work alone. I never work in the sense of do this, do that, do it my way. It's always a partnership, a collaboration. And I have a personal chemistry with the people that I work with. Otherwise I wouldn't work with them. And that's how I treat every situation, whether it's solo or as a band. As a band, of course, you have a lot more democratic decisions. And if I sing or write something, it has to basically be written off by everybody else in the band that they like it. Sons of Apollo is the prime example. I don't just do what I want to do in a band like Sons of Apollo. It's got to be, yes, I like that. I think that could be stronger. Or somebody might say, I had a different vision for that. That's the difference between being in the band. When I do the JSS things, it's the same ideal, except I'm the one that says, I could do that better. I can fix that, or I should change that. It's not usually somebody coming to me and telling me, I think you could do better. It could be stronger. And that's where my personal experience comes from. I know what's right for me. And I do know what's right for the situation, whether it's a band situation, but on the other hand, I'm not always right in terms of pleasing everybody involved. So I love both demographics. It gives me the opportunity to do both of them. And I can't choose one over the other.
No, I totally would understand that. Now, I know recently you've had a lot of press about some comments back and forth about Journey, and I don't want to get into all the details of that because that's old news at this point.
That's all right.
But you've seemed like, one of the things that's important to you at this point is, because you've said this, hey, I just want to be at a point where I feel like I could connect with people, that I could just, hey, if I run into them in a hallway or in an arena or whatever, I could just say hello. And you were very, very complimentary of seeing Journey a few months ago. Do you feel like maybe that message got lost somewhere in the last couple of weeks with all the different press back and forth?
The only reason it gets lost is because these clickbait sites only want to, they want to jump on the negative or try to find a negative in something I or somebody says. And it's unfortunate because I had every good intention of what I was saying when I said it and how I said it. By all means, I have closure with the situation. Yep. But the problem is when these clickbait things happen, people don't realize I'm not bringing this up. They keep saying, yeah, for somebody who's over it, and he's got closure over it. He seems to talk about it a lot still. I'm talking about it because people like yourself are asking me about it.
Sure.
I'm not bringing it up for the sake of, I want to talk about Journey. I don't want to talk about Journey. I want to talk about the things that I'm doing currently in my life. But if it's brought up, I'm going to answer the question. And if I answer the question, I don't want to be attacked for, sour grapes and this, that. No, I'm giving you an honest answer. I'm candid. I'm very honest. I'm very open. I don't sugarcoat things. But unfortunately, by not sugarcoating things, it's taken the wrong way, and they put a spin on it. The same thing happened with I was doing an interview about the concept. I'm sorry, the conversation went to Van Halen and Sammy Hagar, yep. And they spun that negatively as well. They were talking about I said something about if Van Halen got somebody to replace David Lee Roth, and he was just there to basically copy everything David did and tried to be a new version of David Lee Roth. It would sound silly. It would sound goofy. And they took the conversation as Jeff Scott Soto said Sammy Hagar sounded silly and goofy replacing David Lee Roth. I never said that. No. I love Sammy. He's a friend. He's a colleague that I've known for decades now. I would never say anything negative about Sammy Hagar. But of course they have to turn it into that. And it stinks. All I'm doing is answering a question and being completely open and honest. And then they spin it into clickbait crap.
Unfortunate, very unfortunate. But I know, I mean, I read your post about when you saw Journey, and it was extremely positive and very complimentary. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And
So,
I want it to remain as such. You know, when if things come up now, I'm going to tell the truth.
yeah,
I'm so honored to be a part of their legacy, to be part of that whole thing. Yes, there was a level of how it was done when I was let go that stunk for me, but in the general sense, it worked out for everyone. It worked out for the band, it worked out for Arnell, and it worked out for me because I'm not without Journey. I was able to do a lot of things that I wouldn't have been able to do had I stayed with the band. So it worked out for everyone. There's nothing negative anymore to say about that situation. I love what that band gave me in terms of influence. I love that I could say I was part of their legacy for a short time, and I'm going to leave it at that. It's that simple.
perfectly said. I know one of the things I love that, you did some demos with Vinnie Vincent years ago, and I'm a big Vinnie Vincent fan as well as a fan of yourself. Have you spoke to him at all in the last few years since he's, I'll say, resurfaced? Is there any chance you do something with him again?
Yeah, he reached out. He wanted me to be part of one of the things that he was organizing or arranging.
Yep.
I guess I don't know if he's doing his own kind of Vinnie Vincent convention kind of thing, but unfortunately, timing and to be honest with you, my only connection with Vinny is those weren't even demos for something for us.
Right.
Those were demos that he needed to fulfill as a songwriter, because if anybody knows anything about publishing deals, he had a publishing deal with a publishing house, which means he writes songs to fulfill his obligation, like a catalog of songs. The publishing company, and then they in turn give it to other artists, or they suggest it for movies and commercials, etc. That's what you do. You record these songs, you give it to them, and then they place them somewhere along the way. That's exactly Vinny's written for many artists, Michael Bolton, Cher,
Yep.
so many artists in the past that people don't know that he's a songwriter for. And that's all those songs were written for. They were to fulfill his obligation for his publishing company. It was not a project between us. It was not something we were planning that didn't happen. It was only for that purpose.
But if I heard you right, you said he did call you for one of his shows that he was doing. I know he's been doing these private shows, but for whatever reason, you guys just going to connect, it sounds like.
Right. That, and again, because I don't want to cloud the overall climate of our time together, working together. It's not necessarily it wasn't the connection like we actually planned on doing something. Otherwise, I probably put a little more effort into following through with it.
Fair enough. So going back to the new album right now, do you know what the next single is going to be for the album?
The next single is going to be a song called Disbelieving, and we're just finishing the edits for the video for that. Again, this, just like the last video, was filmed in Brazil, because my videographer is from Sao Paulo, and he's a great filmmaker. He's not a music video guy. He's an actual filmmaker. And I love his landscapes and his ideals and the things that he uses for the videos that he does for me. He's a great friend. So he's basically throwing me a bone. I mean, the money I give him for the videos and the level of quality that he gives me back do not match. He's doing all of these things to the kindness of his heart and his experience and his expertise. And now he's even, because he's also a film teacher. And so now he's got a lot of his students working with me, because it gives them a chance to get their hands-on experience. And it gives him a chance to kind of quiz them and to kind of test the levels that they're learning from him. So it's a win-win for all of us.
And when will that drop? Do you know?
On the day that the album comes out, on May 6th.
May 6th.
The new single and the album drops same day.
That's awesome. And I know that later, I think this summer, you're playing the Monsters on the Mountain Festival, which is always a great time for a lot of fans. They get to see a lot of great artists. And I think you did the Monsters of Rock cruise just a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken, as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I have to assume as an artist that those kind of festivals are just as much fun for you as the artist as it is for the fans.
They're great for me because for the most part, when I do the JSS thing, we started doing we started Soto on those cruises, but that particular cruise and brand is it's more about nostalgia, and something like Soto, I don't think it's not the right vehicle for the Monsters situation. So I've kind of flipped it and used that as more of a JSS legacy event that I put on the Monsters sets. I think it's better for what the people are expecting from me. It's more suitable, it's more fitting. And something like Soto, I would just continue pushing on a different. Soto's a lot heavier. It's not the melodic rock thing. It's more of a metal thing. So I'll keep that branding for other things in the future. But the overall thing I do for the Monsters on the Mountain or Monsters of Rock Cruise, it's more of a JSS legacy thing.
Awesome. So like you said before, the album Complicated is coming out on May 6th. I know it's available on vinyl. You can buy it, stream it, CD. I always tell people buy the physical product because you artists don't make anywhere near the money that you should from streaming. Is there anything that you want your fans to know about the album that we haven't discussed today?
You know what? I really don't mind how people listen to it, how they discover the albums or my music in general. In the end, I'm not looking for the financial reward that comes. Maybe the label is, they're looking to make the record. But as far as I'm concerned, and I used to get a lot of angry responses from the labels when back in the day, I was pro Napster only because I know more people are going to hear me off that format than are not going to hear me. You limit something like that where people can't hear me for free or trade my music for free. It's less people that are going to know about me, less people that are going to be coming to my shows potentially. So I look at any way, shape, or form that somebody's listening to or discovering new music. I champion it because I'm gonna win. The overall structure of all that in the end, anyways.
I think that's awesome. I think you're literally the first artist I've ever heard at your level saying that they liked Napster. So that's eye-opening to me.
Well, it's not that I like it. I'm not going to put it down in terms of what it means, my overall picture. Again, if I get 100 people or 1,000 people sharing my music for free, it's 1,000 people less I would have had if they had to pay for it that wouldn't know about me. So I try to find the positive and the negative.
Yeah, and I think the true fans will always go out and buy the product anyway. So, definitely the new album's coming out May 6th. I love hearing the stuff on vinyl. The name of the album is Complicated. Jeff, I just want to say thank you for your time today. This has been an honor. I really appreciate it. And best of luck with the new album.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to people like yourself for championing what I do and giving me the opportunity to continue doing what I've loved doing for so long. This is a dream for the most part, but this is my life, and I've been given this life because of people like yourself. So thank you for being a part of that process just the same.
No, well, thank you. And best of luck with the shows coming up and any shows that you play later this year and with the album. So thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks, Mike. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye. All righty. There you have it. I'd like to thank Jeff for taking some time out today talking all about his new CD, Complicated, coming out on May 6th. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Thanks so much, Jeff, for chatting with me about it today. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.